Hello. Today we are going to explain some other features in Revit. We open Revit, you know that this is the screen. We have the elevation marks. This is the crop region. We can increase or make it bigger. We can move the elevation marks. And we have to make sure that everything that we want to see is within the limits of the crop region and the elevation marks. If you open this icon, the default 3D view, here we have default 3D view with levels. By default, we have 2 levels, depending on the units. I think these are millimeters, these 4,000, probably you will have other units on your screen. But anyway, this is what you see when you open a level. You see a floor plan. And when you open a 3D view, we see these 2 levels here, level 0 and level 1. And here on this project browser, we have level 0 and level 1. Imagine, or probably you will have this by default. I think you have like 2, no, not this. Okay. So probably you will have this project browser in the properties windows here in the same column. We can hide it. Okay, so imagine that we don't have anything. Do not panic. We can restore the original configuration just by clicking view. And here we have the user interface. And in the user interface, these are all the things that are activated. So if we want to activate the project browser or the system or the properties windows, you can do that. And I usually do this. I have the browser on the right and the properties windows on the left. But this is how it works, because I have the screen here in the middle, and then I have 2 columns. Then you can adjust the size of these columns. But this is up to you. Just you can move those 2 windows if you're more comfortable placing the windows here. You can do that. I don't recommend you do it. So we can always do this, and we can adjust the size of these 2 of the project browser and the properties windows. Anyway, we have levels, we have the 3D view, and today I want to explain you how to work with some useful features, which are the reference planes. You see that here we have reference planes. It's not activated because it's on the 3D view. It's in the first architecture tab. We have reference plane, and they are activated when we work in levels. Now you see that we can work with reference planes. A reference plane is useful because by default we work in a horizontal plane. Okay, so we have the 3D view, and if we want to create a model line, what we do is to work in this horizontal plane. We can select the plane where we are working with. So if you click here, model line, we are in placement plane. We're on level 0. If we change this to level 1, then everything we do is on level 1. So sometimes it's difficult to understand, but if you rotate the view, you see that the first rectangle is on level 0 and the second rectangle is on level 1. Okay, so when we are doing anything, we can work with lines, we can work with rectangles or curves. The placement plane, it's very important. By default, we have level 0, and everything we do is on level 0. If you move it, you see that all these circles are on level 0. If you want to change the level, you have to go to level 1. And now this hexagon, it's on level 1. Okay, so today I want to model volume, a basic volume that looks like a house. And that's why we're going to use the reference planes. So I'm going to explain you how to do it. So what do I mean? If we click or what I explained to you, if you have the reference line, the axis, the X and Y, we can work on level 0. We're working on a horizontal plane. And then if we use extrude, we move this shape up. Okay. And now we have volume. So that's the basic thing that we do. By default, we are working on a horizontal plane, and we have drawn this rectangle. Okay, so we are working with this rectangle, and then we extrude it and we move it up. And we can do something different if we just start working on a different plane. If instead of working on a horizontal plane, we work on a vertical one, if we work here, then we are using this X, Z plane. We can extrude it in this direction, and then we will have a volume, but we have started working on a different plane. We're not working on a horizontal plane, we're working on a vertical plane. So if we extrude this in this direction, there you go. Then we end up having this volume. Okay, so now the element we have used to start the volume is this one. We have used this rectangle, and then we have moved this rectangle in this direction. So we can do this in Revit. What we are going to do is to work with this plane, with a vertical plane, but the shape is going to be different. So I want to create a shape like this, something that looks like the elevation of a house, and then I'm going to extrude this in this direction, and I'm going to move this shape here. Okay, so that I will end up having this kind of house. Okay, so let's do it. And I'm going to do this in Revit. So I'm going to delete all these shapes that I created before. And I'm going to set reference planes, vertical reference planes. By default, we can work on level 0 or level 1. If I work on level 0, I can create a rectangle, or I can use this component, model in place. In model in place, I have to select a category, let's say walls. And here we can set the work plane. Setting the work plane means that we can define what plane we're working with. So far, we have only levels. We have level 0 and level 1. So by default, I'm setting this on level 0. I select solid extrusion, and then I'm going to create a rectangle like this. I finish, then I move to the 3D view, and now you can see that I can move it upwards. Okay, so I can create then a finished model, and I have a volume, and I have created this volume out of this rectangle on level 0. If I want to do the same, but working from a vertical plane, yes. If I want to work on a vertical plane, then on level 0, I have to create a reference plane. Okay, so click on reference plane, and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to name this reference plane. We have to name it. So it's a reference plane 1. And where is this reference plane now? On level 0, we can see it. If we go to this, we can't see it. It's there. So we have a vertical reference plane because we have created this horizontal line. So this is a plane, but we can't see it on the 3D view, but it's there, believe me. How can we realize that it's there? If you go to component, model in place, if we select walls, then we can set this, and you see that the reference plane 1 appears here. Okay, so we can select reference plane 1. Okay, and if we select extrusion and we draw a rectangle, you will see that now we are drawing this on the reference plane, and this rectangle is vertical, it's not horizontal anymore. Okay, so we are working on that on a vertical reference plane. If we click OK, and then we can move it in this direction. Okay, and finish the model, and there you go. So remember that we have a reference plane, and we can edit this. So every time we select this, we can edit it. We can edit it in a plan. We can edit it in a 3D view. Okay. If we want to change the shape, I'm going to adjust this line to level 0. I can select align, select level 0, select this. Okay. And now we start on level 0, and we want to align this with level 1. I can select first level 1, then this line, and now this rectangle that I have created goes from level 0 to level 1. What if I want to change that shape? I can select it, and I can edit in place. And then I select this again, and I edit extrusion because I have created this volume out of a surface. So I have to edit the extrusion of the surface like this. If you use the front view, okay, so we are from level 0 to level 4000 to level 1. If we want to create like a triangle here, we can select this shape. We have this midpoint here. There's another midpoint there, and then midpoint and midpoint. If we try to create the extrusion, it doesn't work because it has to be a closed loop. So don't quit sketching, continue, because we have to use this trim. Trim. And what about what happens now? If we click OK, it doesn't work because we have this line here that shouldn't be. So we have to select this line and delete it. And now if we click here, we can extrude it. If we move it, we can work with this shape, make it shorter or longer. Okay, so now we have created a shape that it's not a rectangle, it's something a little more complicated. But remember that we started working on this reference plane. So the original shape that I have created is here on this plane. And then we extrude that shape in that direction. What if I want to do something from this side? Let's okay, if we have this regional, what if we want to start drawing here on this plane? Imagine that we want to create something like this. Okay, I want to create this shape here. But now it's not in the original reference plane. This is the original reference plane that I have created. But now I have to create another reference plane here. Let's say reference plane 2. And then I can draw this shape. And if I can extrude this in this direction. Okay, so now I can create another volume that goes in that direction. Okay, so let's do this with Revit. So now I have to create another reference plane here. Remember that we can't do that on a 3D view. We have to go to the level 0 and we can select reference plane. And I want to create a reference plane here. It doesn't matter how long it is, just for the sake of symmetry. I'm going to do it as long as the first one. So this is reference plane 1. I'm going to name this reference plane 2. And then on the 3D view, I can, if I want to create another volume here, I have to go to architecture, component, model in place. Let's select walls. And now I can set this on reference plane 2. So everything I draw, it's going to be on this reference plane. And then I select extrusion. And now I can draw lines here, here. You see that Revit is smart enough. So when there is, no, okay. Because I want to create a parallel line to this one, I'm doing this. So if no, it's not parallel. Well, if I do this, I can continue this line, okay? But now I want a line that it's parallel to this one. I can always draw a line like this. I can move it. I can select this, move it from this point to this point. Okay. And now I want this length to be the same as that one. So if I drag this point, probably there will be an option. Okay, there is not. So I have to draw another auxiliary line here. And from this intersection, I can go down and left. Remember that now I have to delete the lines that I'm not using, and I have to trim the lines so that this is the new shape. Then I click OK, and then I can extrude this volume in this direction. Okay, so I want to do this because I wanted these two planes to be the same. And this is something that you have to get used to do in architecture, okay? Because if for some reason we edit extrusion and these lines are not parallel like this, there are a lot of issues in real world, in real architecture with this kind of things. So make sure that when we continue a plane, we have exactly the same direction, the same slope, because otherwise there will be a lot of water leaks and a lot of issues here. On level 0, well, we can always adjust this to this shape and finish model. There you go. Okay. What if we want to extend this house in the other direction, in this direction? Okay, so I'm going to do it again here. Okay, so now our I'm going to need another reference plane. So this is going to be reference plane 3. And I'm going to draw something in this direction. This rectangle. And I'm going to extrude it like this. Okay, so now I have a volume in the Y direction. And now I want another volume in this X direction. So let's do it with Revit. So I need another reference plane here. So I have to go to level 0. I have to go to architecture, reference plane, and I want to start this. Name it, select here. So this is reference plane 3. Now on the 3D view, we go to architecture component, model in place, walls, set on reference plane 3. And what I want to do now is to continue this roof. I want another volume, but I want to continue this roof in this direction. So there are different ways we can do it. So if I'm working on reference plane 3 and I'm working with extrusion, I can draw a rectangle. And if I'm drawing a rectangle, you see that I'm drawing on this reference plane 3. I select this, okay, and then I extrude it in this direction. And now finish model. Okay. But what if I want to do the same here, but I want to follow the slope of the roof? Then what reference plane should I use? I wouldn't use this reference plane. I would use the reference plane 1, the first one I have created here. So let me show you what I'm going to do. And so I have to go to architecture, component, model in place, walls, set, and I'm going to send this on reference plane 1, the first one I created. Okay. And I'm going to use the front view because what I want now is to create extrusion, but I want to continue the slope of this. And here Revit is smart. You see that at some point this line continues the slope of the first roof I created. And then I do this and that. This is what I mean, that now I'm extruding this volume, and this volume continues the slope that we have here. Finish model, and if I wanted to start the same point, do it here. There you go. Okay, so depending on what we want to do, if we work on this reference plane, on reference plane 3, I can extrude this in this direction. But if I work on reference plane 1, then I can extrude this in this direction using the same slope that I have on the original roof.